When a sea captain sailed into Gloucester Harbor that August morning, he expected another routine day in America's oldest fishing port. Instead, he witnessed something that would launch the most scientifically investigated sea monster case in American history. A creature estimated at 60 to 80 feet long, moving through the water with an undulation unlike any known marine animal, its horse-sized head rising above the surface while hundreds of witnesses watched in stunned disbelief. This wasn't some isolated sighting by unreliable witnesses. Ship captains, merchants, a justice of the peace, and experienced fishermen who knew every species in Cape and waters all saw the same impossible creature. Their sworn testimonies would prompt a formal scientific investigation that created an entirely new species classification, only to have that classification destroyed by one of science's most embarrassing mistakes. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from and how the weather is treating you today. As you reflect on your surroundings, consider this. In 1817, the most experienced seafarers in New England, people whose livelihoods depended on understanding the ocean, collectively witnessed something that marine biology still cannot explain. The mystery we're exploring today involves credible eyewitnesses, physical evidence, scientific investigation, and a creature that vanished as mysteriously as it appeared. What really terrorized Gloucester Harbor that summer? And why do the most rational explanations still fail to account for what hundreds of people saw? The first sighting occurred on August 6, 1817, when two women spotted an enormous serpent-like creature entering the harbor. Their account was initially dismissed, until experienced fishermen confirmed seeing the same creature. Within days, reports flooded in from some of Gloucester's most respected citizens. Famous Story, a seaman, watched the creature from shore near 10-Pound Island on August 10. He described its head resembling a sea turtle's, raised about 10 inches above the water. The creature moved with extraordinary speed, leaving a wake unlike anything he'd seen in years at sea. Solomon Allen, a shipmaster, observed it from his boat on August 12 and again on August 13. He estimated its visible length at 40 feet, with a body as thick as a barrel. What struck Allen most was the creature's movement, not the side-to-side motion of fish or whales, but a vertical undulation that reminded witnesses of a caterpillar crawling through water. By August 14, the creature had become Gloucester's primary obsession. 20 to 30 people watched it that day, including the Honourable Lonson Nash, Justice of the Peace for Gloucester. Nash's presence among the witnesses added governmental authority to what was rapidly becoming the most documented monster sighting in American history. The creature seemed unafraid of humans. It lingered in the harbor for extended periods, sometimes remaining stationary for hours. Witnesses used telescopes for prolonged observation, noting details impossible to fabricate. Dark coloring, humps along its back appearing and disappearing as it moved, eyes described as large as pewter plates, and that distinctive caterpillar-like motion through the water. William Forster, a Gloucester merchant, provided one of the most detailed accounts. Positioned in a boat just 30 feet from the creature on August 14, he described its head as large as a 4-gallon keg, its body thick as a barrel. The creature left marks on the water's surface, like those made by skating on the ice. A detail so specific it suggests genuine observation rather than invention. What topic in historical sea mysteries fascinates you most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll research it for a future episode. Your questions shape the content on ancient underwater mysteries. The encounter took a dramatic turn when Matthew Gaffney, a ship's carpenter, fired a musket directly at the creature's head from nearly point-blank range. The ball appeared to strike, but caused no visible injury. The creature immediately turned toward the boat, prompting terror among the crew, then dove beneath their vessel and resurfaced about 100 yards away, apparently unharmed. 4 armed boats pursued it that day, but the Serpent easily outpaced them. Its speed was repeatedly described as exceedingly rapid, capable of covering distance faster than rowing crews could follow. Yet it wasn't fleeing in panic. it seemed merely uninterested in human attention. The scientific community took notice. On August 18, the Linnaean Society of New England, a prestigious organization dedicated to natural history, appointed a committee to investigate. Judge John Davis, Dr. Jacob Bigelow, and Francis C. Gray were tasked with collecting evidence and witness testimony. The committee approached the investigation with scientific rigor. They traveled to Gloucester, interviewed witnesses, collected sworn depositions, and compiled reports from additional sightings in nearby Nahant and Plymouth. Their investigation produced 10 sworn statements from men of unblemished character, merchants, ship captains, and respected community members. The descriptions showed remarkable consistency. Most witnesses estimated length between 60 and 100 feet. The body appeared segmented, with humps creating a ridge along its back. Movement was universally described as undulating vertically rather than horizontally. The head was variously compared to a horse, a sea turtle, or a dog, but always described as substantially larger than any known marine animal. Several witnesses reported seeing a horn or spear-like protrusion extending from the head, typically 12 to 24 inches long. This detail, mentioned independently by multiple observers, would later prove crucial in modern reanalysis of the case. Please hit that like button, subscribe to Ancient Underwater Mysteries, and turn on notifications. Your subscription means everything to me as this channel continues growing, and your support helps me bring these incredible historical mysteries back into the light. Then came the discovery that would both validate and doom the investigation. On September 27th, Gorham Norwood killed a small black snake on Loblolly Cove Beach in nearby Rockport. The snake measured only 3.5 feet long, but displayed unusual humps along its spine similar to those described on the larger creature. The snake was brought to the Linnaean Society, which made a fateful decision. Without capturing the actual sea serpent, they declared this deformed snake to be the creature's offspring. They created an entirely new genus, Scoliophis, meaning humped snake, and gave it the scientific name Scoliophis atlanticus. The committee published their findings in November 1817, complete with a detailed fold-out illustration of the supposed creature. General David Humphreys sent copies to the Royal Society of London. Harvard professor William Dandridge Peck submitted papers to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Even William Bentley, Salem's beloved Unitarian minister, wrote in his diary that the creature's repeated appearance is not doubted. A large shed was constructed near Boston's Faneuil Hall to house the creature's carcass once it was captured. Rewards were offered. Nets were set. Shark hooks were baited. But the creature eluded every capture attempt. By late August 1817, it vanished from Gloucester Harbor as mysteriously as it had appeared. Occasional sightings continued. 13 humps were counted by witnesses at Nahant in 1819, where it remained stationary for 4 hours. But the intense concentration of sightings in Gloucester Harbor never repeated. The Linnaean Society's triumph turned to humiliation. In 1863, the Boston Society of Natural History re-examined the preserved Offspring specimen and identified it as a common northern black racer, Coluber constrictor, with a spinal deformity, likely tumors or developmental abnormalities. Scoliophis atlanticus was declared a myth. The embarrassment contributed to the Linnaean Society's dissolution in 1822. Their collections were eventually donated to Harvard Museum. The special shed at Faneuil Hall was dismantled. The scientific community dismissed the entire affair as mass hysteria or misidentification. But that dismissal ignores crucial facts. These weren't gullible landlubbers seeing their first dolphin. These were professional seafarers who knew every fish, whale, and seal species in New England waters. Ship Captain Sewell Topham summarized the prevailing attitude: "I have been to sea many years, and never saw any fish that had the least resemblance to this animal. modern investigators have proposed various explanations. The horn-like protrusion mentioned by several witnesses led researcher Joe Nickell to suggest narwhals, Arctic whales with long, spiral tusks. However, narwhals typically inhabit Arctic waters and are rarely seen as far south as Massachusetts. The vertical undulation doesn't match narwhal swimming patterns, and the size estimates far exceed narwhal dimensions. Others have suggested giant squid, though squid don't surface for extended periods or move in the described manner. Basking sharks have been proposed, but experienced whalers would have recognized them. The theory of dolphins swimming in formation doesn't explain the sustained close-range observations or the consistent descriptions of a single, connected creature. Perhaps most telling is what wasn't seen. No carcass ever washed ashore. No remains were ever found. Despite intensive hunting efforts with harpoons, nets, and firearms, the creature was never captured or killed. It simply disappeared. What aspect of this 1817 mystery intrigues you most? The consistent witness descriptions, the failed scientific investigation, or perhaps the creature's unexplained disappearance? Drop a comment sharing your perspective on what hundreds of credible witnesses actually saw in Gloucester Harbor. Sightings continued sporadically through the 19th century. 190 documented reports between 1817 and 1900, with concentrations in 1839, 1875, and 1886. The 20th century produced only 56 reports, mostly before 1950. Modern sightings are extremely rare. Some researchers speculate that increased motorized boat traffic drove the creatures away, their engines creating underwater noise that warned the serpents off. Others suggest overfishing depleted the food sources that attracted them to New England waters. The possibility remains that whatever inhabited Gloucester Harbor in 1817 simply moved on or died out. The Gloucester Sea Serpent endures as one of America's most credible cryptozoological cases precisely because it defies easy dismissal. The witnesses were reliable. The investigation was thorough. The descriptions were consistent. Yet no known marine animal matches what they described. Perhaps the creature represented a species since extinct or driven from New England waters by ecological changes. Perhaps it was a vagrant individual of an Arctic species rarely seen so far south. Or perhaps, as some suggest, it was something science has yet to discover or classify. The mystery reminds us that even in well-traveled waters near populous cities, the ocean keeps secrets. In 1817, hundreds of people with extensive maritime experience witnessed something that challenged their understanding of marine life. Their testimonies, collected under oath and published by respected scientists, describe a creature that shouldn't exist according to modern marine biology. Yet the evidence remains. Sworn statements, detailed descriptions, failed capture attempts, and a scientific investigation that produced one of the most thoroughly documented monster cases in history. The Gloucester Sea Serpent may never be conclusively explained, but it stands as proof that our oceans still hold mysteries worthy of serious investigation. The creature that terrorized Gloucester Harbor in 1817 is gone, but the questions it raised endure, challenging us to consider that even in our scientifically advanced age, some mysteries of the deep may remain forever beyond our understanding.